from Gardner.
Actually, you want them? You want that? Can you hear me anyway? Okay, give me the thing. Yeah, because I have all these papers over. Just set it on here. Hold it. Okay. Can you hear me now okay? The Awasting Reserve project was primarily in Gardner, though parts of it were in also Wawarsing and Shangam, but I want to clarify that I myself live in the town of Shangam, not Gardner. So don't blame me on Gardner or vice versa. I'm often asked to speak about how we succeeded in getting land that had a proposal for 350 houses and a golf course, et cetera, right on the slope of the ridge all the way up to the summit of the ridge, turned into, instead, a part of Minnewaska State Park Preserve, hoping that there could be lessons drawn for other similar projects. Unfortunately, there aren't very many lessons to be drawn from our situation, because in a lot of ways it was unique. The one way in which it was unique and does not particularly apply to your situation, I think, is that Save the Ridge, from the very beginning, our position was not one single house up there. Everybody kept saying, well, what's your compromise position going to be? You know, it said 350, would you settle for 200 and stuff? But our position from the beginning was it should be part of the park. The state had wanted it to be part of the park, and there was a buyer, Open Space Institute, available to buy it and then turn it over to the park. So that our solution was very different from what you people are looking at. From what I understand, there is not opposition to having anything whatsoever at Williams Lake. In fact, there has always been something there for quite a while. But the question is, what should the scale be? What kind of project there could be of advantage to the town as well as to nature in general? And what kind of project would be damaging to the town? Let me just, there were two other people who were supposed to speak here instead of me, and I just want to quote something that Janet Kern would have said had she been able to speak. She said, it is crucial for any community to keep its eye on the long ball, which she capitalizes. What kind of community do we want to bequeath to the 7 generations hence? Janet's into American Indian stuff, you know, about the 7 generations in the Constitution of the Iroquois, right? What will really benefit our children? How do we negotiate the conflicts between economic gain and moral responsibility? And in the Williams Lake project, it would seem to be all about scale. So I personally don't see any possibility here of having 2 completely, utterly opposed camps, one that wants everything and one that wants nothing. It appears as though it's going to be some kind of a compromise no matter what happens. And what the shape that compromise would take should most properly be based on the scientific aspects of the nature of that particular piece of property and what is needed, and on the nature of the community that it will become part of. And those things are both taken care of in a SEEKR study, State Environmental Quality Review. I recommend that anybody who is interested get a copy of the SEEKR cookbook, which you can get from the our taxes pay for the DEC, and therefore they have to give us their documents for free if we want them. There are also shorter versions. Probably the easiest one is called the Citizen's Guide to SEEKR. It's just a little pamphlet. There's also one called For Local Officials and one called What is SEEKR? Avail yourself of these things so that you'll know exactly how to participate. SEEKR is a good law, partly because it encourages community involvement. It's not doing stuff from above and imposing it on people. It seeks to find out what the community wants. Now, of course, communities are not of one mind. But that's why you get all of the information that you can from all the different studies, and then the DEC, is the DEC your lead agency? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the DEC will then figure out how to best combine the interests of the community, of the different factions in the community, with the interests of nature. There is, and I know of no better way to make that accommodation, and I don't see any reason for there to be a fight. I mean, the DEC will do a fair and honest and scientific job, and it's the job of everybody here to give whatever input they can into that process. The things that we did in the Save the Ridge project were, we got a quite extensive study done by a number of different committees. I mean, Dave was on the traffic committee, for instance. And these were organized mainly by the Shangam Ridge Biodiversity Partnership. And they produced a document, which I do have several copies in, so I could leave one with you all if you're interested in having it. It lists all the different organizations that participated. It's called Identification of Critical Issues to be Addressed in the Draft Environmental Impact Statement for the Proposed Awasing Reserve Development. Don't try Googling that. And I believe it's still on the Mohawk Preserve website, but anyway, here is a complete copy that you all can have. This was originally for the scoping, and then it was to be a basis for the actual seeker review, which in fact we never got to, because we also commissioned a study, or rather the Shangam Conservancy, which was an allied organization, commissioned a study by an independent consultant about a meticulous study of how the developer's proposal fit in with the town zoning. Now, I know you've talked about town zoning already, but he noticed things that none of the people living in the town had even noticed, you know, because he had an eye for that thing. Peter Fairweather was the man who did that study. I have one copy of it here, which I cannot share with everybody, but you can look at it if you want. Time's up already. Okay. So I will just conclude then by saying that whether you're for or against the particular project that the developers have proposed, and parenthetically I'd say we also researched the developer. We researched projects that they had done in other states to see what kind of result they came up with. Whether you're for or against the extent that they have proposed, or whether you would like to see just very minimal thing, seeker is your friend in both cases. So everybody should be involved in that, and I don't see any reason why it can't come to a fair and a result that would be pretty much happy to everybody.